Denise, can I ask you to call the roll?
Yes. Jennifer Oliver, our chair, will not be here today. Chris Denzel.
Present.
Heidi Anderson.
Present.
Stephanie Chen.
Present.
Maxwell Di Natale, I believe, is not present today. Doug Doolittle also will not be here. Nicholas Martin Kearney.
Present.
Wonderful, thank you. Darla Lee. I'm expecting Darla. I don't see her on yet. And Lisa Rode.
Here.
Great. We still have 5 people, so we have enough for our quorum without Darla, but hopefully she joins us soon.
Okay, that's good news. So let's move to agenda item 2, which is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That will move us to agenda item number 3. Is there any initial public comment?
So again, if anyone would like to comment, please use the raise hand icon. We do have Luke Stevenson. I'm going to allow to talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi there. My wife and I have a dog that we take out to exercise once a day with some other dogs. We have kind of a dog park group that gets together our pets and gives them some socialization, some exercise every day. We have gone to Whites Creek because that is, we feel, the safest place for the dogs to play, because it's enclosed with the exception of a small gate area. You've been asked a couple times that I've been there that we go elsewhere because it's not made for having our dogs off leash. We understand that there's another park near the library that it's preferred that we take our dogs there. The issue we have with that is that there's one whole side that borders a busy street, their Wedge Parkway, that is not fenced. And it's a pretty significant danger to the dogs and the motorists, I think, too, to have the dogs playing in an area that there's no containment. So that's the struggle that we have, I guess, is trying to find a place that is safe for the dogs and is allowed by the city or the county.
Also, the pilot program that they're running.
I'm sorry, my wife is speaking at the same time.
The pilot program that they're running down in the lower field by the library, even though they say there's no soccer there's soccer there every weekend and it's all day long. And then the dogs get involved with the people playing soccer and all of those.
Could you hear that? Okay. So that's a concern of ours.
Okay, thank you. Is there any additional public comment?
No, there is not.
Okay, seeing no additional public comment, we'll move on to, agenda item 4, the approval of the agenda for the Open Spaces and Regional Parks Commission meeting of February 1st, 2022. Would any of the commissioners like to make a motion on this agenda item?
I will motion to approve the agenda for the Open Space and Regional Parks Commission meeting of February 1st, 2022.
Thank you.
And I second, Commissioner Chen.
Thank you. Having moved to approve in a second, we we should now vote. Those that are in favor of.
Commissioner Denzel, sorry to interrupt. I do recommend taking public comment on any action item, just to double up on the open meeting law requirements for public comment.
Thank you for the reminder. Is there any public comment on item 4, the approval of today's agenda?
We have a raised hand with Luke Stevenson, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute. And just a reminder, we do have a 3-minute timer, which I'll be putting up on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you describe what item 4 is, please?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
You're speaking about item 4 on the agenda. I don't know what item 4 is. Can you describe what that is?
Sorry, item 4 is the approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any additional comment?
No.
No. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so having moved to approve in a second, we should now vote on the approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have approved the agenda for today's meeting. This will take us to item 5 on the agenda, the approval of the minutes for the Open Spaces and Regional Park Commission's meeting of January 4th, 2021. I believe that would be 2022, would it not, Denise?
You are correct. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Is there any public comment on the approval of the minutes for Open Spaces and Regional Park Commission meeting of January 4th, 2022?
I don't see any hands, so no public comment.
All right, commissioners, this is an action item. Would any of the commissioners like to make a motion?
Darla Lee, move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Lee.
Heidi Anderson, I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Having moved to approve and seconded, the commissioners should now vote on approval of the minutes for the Open Spaces and Regional Parks Commission meeting of January 4th, 2022. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. Moving on to agenda item number 6, the acknowledgement and recognition of Parks operations staff for their outstanding service and contributions to Washoe County. Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
Since we had one new person join us, I'm just going to state again that if you'd like to make comment, please use the raise hand icon. Otherwise, I see no public comment.
Okay, do we have any acknowledgement and recognition of Parks operations staffs for this meeting?
For the record, Colleen Wallace Barnum, we do not have any acknowledgements today.
Okay, thank you very much for that. We will then move on to agenda item number 7, presentation and discussion of a Parkland easement application submitted by Toll Brothers for proposed temporary construction and permanent slope easements along a portion of the northern boundary of Lazy 5 Regional Park to support the neighboring Stonebrook West housing development. The applicants would like to, I'll stop there. I'll save public comment for after the presentation. So if those that are going to present the information would like to go ahead.
So good afternoon, Park Commissioners. I'm going to give Jeff a brief introduction here. So Sophia Kirschenman, Park Planner with Washoe County Planning for the record. As was just mentioned, this is an informational presentation today and a discussion about a Parkland easement proposal that we recently received from Toll Brothers. This is not an action item today to vote on, but we are asking you to review the preliminary proposal and provide comments, questions, concerns, any perspective that you may have so that we can take that into consideration as we move forward in the Parkland easement review process. This item will come back to you for official voting and recommendation, potential recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners at a later meeting date. So today we do have Jeff Borchardt from Toll Brothers, I hope I said your name correctly, who will be presenting the preliminary Parkland easement application proposal. And with that, I will turn it over to Jeff to share his screen and give you the presentation.
Thank you, Sophia. I'll get my screen up right now. Can everyone see the right screen, the full screen, not the presentation mode? Okay, perfect. Well, good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Jeff Borchardt. I'm with Toll Brothers. I'm their land entitlement manager. One thing that Toll Brothers really likes to do is go out and solicit feedback, not only from commissions, but from the public before they go do things. And I think as we started to get into final design on this project, we realized that there may be a better way to approach the interface with the park. So let me walk through this presentation, and then I really appreciate your guys' time to give us some preliminary feedback today. So what we're proposing is to construct, if the thing wants to play ball with me, there we go. Construct a landscape slope into the park, preserve all the existing mature trees that are there, and improve the existing trail per the park master plan. And so essentially we have an approved project located to the north of Lazy 5. Right now, the interface is essentially just a large CMU block wall with a fence on top of it. It could range from anywhere between 4 to 6 feet tall, and then there's a 6 foot tall fence right on top of it. So we thought that that was sort of a cold approach to the park, and we wanted to figure out a way to soften that edge a little bit more. So we're proposing a slope into the park with landscaping on top of it. So that will create a softer transition from the park edge to our project. Where, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but where it says property line right here, we will keep the wall so that we can preserve all of those existing mature trees. If we create a slope in that area, you won't be able to preserve those trees. Essentially, all that dirt would come into that area. So we would basically wrap the slope up, put a wall there so that all those trees can be preserved. So what we have is some perspectives here, some photo simulations. These are not what our houses are going to look like, but it gives you an idea of what the existing conditions are, what it would look like with the wall, and what it would look like with landscaping and slope. And likewise, over here, you can see that the wall is sort of a colder condition on the edge here, and the landscape slope adds a much more soft transition. And once those trees grow into it, adds a little bit more screening to the houses. And again, from a different angle, much more colder edge. And then a landscape slope provides much softer. Same thing here. And a different angle here. So as part of that Parkland easement policy that the county has in place, there are several different criteria. And so we really try to take a comprehensive approach to this and see what's a win-win solution, not only for the county parks, but for our future residents as well. So the project is complementary with other planned or existing park uses at the subject site. So we're not encroaching into any existing facilities, and there is a proposed trail in the master plan that's kind of there. We propose to actually improve that to function as a formal trail, and that will actually provide connectivity as well to the detention or the drainage channel that's along the eastern boundary of the park, and will actually provide connectivity for all of our residents and residents in the future Pioneer Meadow subdivision as well. That transfer can be a public benefit in that we're actually improving something that the county has on their master plan, and we're also providing more aesthetically pleasing proposal versus just that cold wall that's already approved right now. And there is, on this particular one here, there is a feasible alternative. It's what's already approved now. It's that wall. We just don't think that that's the best visually for the park users. And, you know, one of the things that Toll likes in their communities is for them to be beautiful communities. So this is the master plan here. You can see the path that runs along the northern boundary. We would propose to bring that around and then formalize this path over to here where it connects into our trail system along the drainage channel. You can see right now the existing path is sort of just forged by people walking over time, and it's a little overgrown. So we would propose to grade that out and create a natural path there. So as for a win-win solution, like I said, right now, as it's currently approved on the final map, we're going to start grading here if we already haven't. There's a hard to edge condition right now. There's no landscaping, there's no trail improvements, there's no added connectivity, but we are going to preserve the trees regardless. As requested, we're going to have a softer visual impact. We're adding trees and natural vegetation. We're creating additional trail improvements that wouldn't normally exist. And we're increasing connectivity to the park in addition to preserving those trees. So I think that's generally what our proposal is. I'll bring it back to the site plan since I think that that's sort of a good example so that we can leave up for discussion purposes, if that's okay with you, Sophia. Okay. So that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions and welcome any feedback that the commissioners have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Borchardt. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Borchardt about the project?
I do have a comment submitted by Commissioner Doolittle that I just wanted to briefly read related to this item. He said, I would be in favor of the slope option as long as Toll Brothers and ultimately the corresponding HOA take on the additional maintenance resulting from the recommended changes in the easement provided.
Yeah, that was also kind of my concern, Mr. Borchardt, is that, you know, who is going to take on the whatever fiscal and manpower sort of requirements to maintain the look and feel of the sloped hill and the vegetation that you're proposing. Visually, I think it's very nice, but I'm just kind of curious whose responsibility it ends up being.
I think that's been batted around in terms of whether or not that would be our maintenance or the park's maintenance. I think if the commission would like that to be our maintenance, it's not a major deal. We would have to just incorporate it into our CC&Rs, and in the easement agreement, there would have to be language that talks about that ultimate responsibility. I think my question mainly kind of lies with the existing landscaping that's there and how the irrigation interfaces, because there will be a constant irrigation line that runs along that southern edge. So we would have to kind of play around with that a little bit more with the county legal counsel.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kearney, I see your hand raised. You're welcome to speak at any time. You're not required to raise your hand.
Well, thank you then. Mr. Borchardt, I noticed there was a path, and I'm wondering if that's a public path. I'm wondering if this is a public pathway.
So the proposed 3-foot wide path, Commissioner, is going to be on the park property. So by that very nature, I think the public would be able to use it. It would not be, I do not propose that being maintained by Toll Brothers nor on Toll Brothers property. The easement does not reflect that. that would be part of what's already planned with the Lazy 5 master plan improvements that we're just proposing to do on behalf of the parks.
Thank you.
I'll weigh in on that a little bit too. Sophia Kirschman, Park Planner with Washoe County Planning. There is sort of an existing kind of social trail, maintenance trail that is already extending along the northern boundary of the park there. I think people do use it on occasion for, a number of events. It's been used in the past, and I think that maintenance staff also use it as well. This would be to more kind of solidify the pathway and to bring it up to a more sustainable design standard. I think there are some drainage issues associated with it at this point. Based on some feedback that we've received from maintenance and ranger staff, it would be a minimum of a certain width wide so that they could continue to use the maintenance vehicles that they're using now. And so it would be kind of serving a dual purpose as providing an official public trail through the park as consistent with the master plan, and then would also provide that maintenance access when needed by park staff.
Commissioner, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Lee. I was just wondering, there was mention of already existing irrigation in the area. So would the added slope and added landscape, would that necessitate more lines to be put in, or is that a concern?
At this point, we're proposing to irrigate that slope. We're proposing to tie into our irrigation through our subdivision. We're working through where to place those meters right now through our water project with the Turkey Meadows Water Authority. So that I think that is something that we're still going to have to walk through. As for how those existing trees are irrigated, we do not plan on disturbing that. So if they're already irrigated, it should have no impact to that. We'll have to work with the maintenance staff to determine if there's existing lines on the small portion of the slope, the 3-to-1 slope on the west side, sort of behind that maintenance building by the skate park there. So we'll work through with that. And if those need to be relocated for any reason so that they don't fall into the slope, we can do that. But I think for the most part, all the landscaping that's proposed to go on the slope, we're planning on irrigating, and our HO will pay for that irrigation on the long term.
Great, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Borchardt? Is there any public comment on this agenda item?
I'm not seeing any, but just a reminder, please raise your hand if you have public comment. It doesn't appear that we do.
Thank you.
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
The existing path right now, I do see it's not greatly maintained, but how wide is it? Is it only 3 feet?
I think it varies, Commissioner. I think in some spots it's a little bit wider where there's sort of DG on the ground where it meanders through the trees, the existing trees. Where it starts to become a little overgrown and kind of informal social path, I think is further east of the soccer fields there, where it could be less than a foot in some places. I walk my dog through here because I live right around the corner. So those pictures that were taken were from my normal walk with the dog. So I know full well that sometimes it can be a little rough trying to get through there sometimes, but once you get to the soccer fields, it's pretty clear that whole area is sort of, it just, as Sophia mentioned, there's a little bit of a wiggle in the grade there, and it's caused some reeling from drainage and erosion through there. So what we would plan on doing is formalizing that through the trees so that it's not so uneven. We only plan on improving that to a formal with the 3 feet right now.
Well, I was thinking of Idlewild, and when you walk along the path there, I believe it's around 4 feet. And the nice thing about that is that people going different directions, often walking a dog, can pass one another comfortably. So is 3 feet wide enough? That's my question.
I think we would be open to grading out 4 feet. I don't think that that's that big deal. I mean, we're trying to leave this a natural looking trail right now and not, create paving or anything like that. I think that's one of the advantages to the regional parks compared to some other more formal subdivision type design is you get a more natural feel for things. So we wanted to try to keep that natural feel as much as possible and make it feel like more like a hiking trail. I think, growing up in an urbanized area, to me, I think one of the biggest values that we have in Washoe County is these regional parks and the access to nature. So that's kind of what we were going for. But I certainly can explore making this 4 feet wide. I don't think that has a substantial cost implication on our end because we're only leaving it natural.
Right. Well, I think 4 feet might be very nice.
Okay.
One more quick thought here. Would that material be ADA compliant? Made of materials for a wheelchair, for instance?
No, likely not. We would grade it as flat as possible, but I can't determine whether or not that whole grading would meet ADA compliance, and nor would the material be ADA compliant. We'd have to figure out how to, either pave it or create some sort of base material down so that there's some consistency there. And I don't think we would meet the cross slope nor the standard slope while trying to keep it natural. Nor do I think long-term maintenance from a county standpoint would be able to try to keep that ADA accessible. And it would never connect into a trail that is ADA accessible. So all of that stuff that's along that drainage channel, none of that's really ADA accessible. It's just an aggregate base material that's on the ground so the dust doesn't fly everywhere, but that's all that's along that channel.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Borchardt?
Yeah, sorry, I have one more quick question, and I'm sorry if I missed it in your presentation. What does the access from the residence housing look like to the park itself?
Well, there's, and I didn't really explain that well. Right now, there's nothing but like informal trail that I walk my dog on. What we're proposing is connectivity from the between lot 69 and 70 here. There will be a path connection onto this aggregate base access road. So this is like a maintenance access road that serves a dual purpose. It serves as a trail. It also serves as a maintenance access so that when they need to come in here and clean out debris or whatever, they can do so. That'll connect down into the park right here. And then eventually we'll connect into that trail that runs along the north boundary. There's also an existing or a proposed connection that we're planning on tying into the boundary along, I believe this is the Ore Ditch. There's an Ore Ditch regional trail that we're building. The city of Sparks has a whole regional trail network that they've planned out in their master plan. And we're proposing to build a regional trail right along that Ore Ditch. And that will connect into our greater overall trail network within the Stonebrook master plan. We're working on another project with the city of Sparks now, where we're planning on trail connectivity through the Andelin parcel as well. So that whole area will have full trail connectivity. You can walk from Cimarron Heights all the way to Lazy 5 eventually through a full trail network that Toll Brothers is building in partnership with Denver Street Properties, who owns the remainder of the parcels at Stonebrook West.
So Heidi brought up another question for me. If you're going to connect, will there be a gate that only allows the residents to enter within your complex, or will that be open for anyone?
We are not gating our complex. There may be a crash gate if it's serving as a maintenance access road so that people can't drive their car in there. But you should be able to get around all of them from a pedestrian standpoint. We're not locking any of our communities up in Stonebrook. They're all ungated communities.
I just imagine that if you make this as nice as it sounds like, it might get a lot of use from people who want to jog or walk, and they may not necessarily live within that complex.
Well, I'll certainly speak from a personal preference. Like I said, I live in Stonebrook. So I think this was sort of pitched by me mainly because I didn't want to walk to the park and see an ugly block wall. Sure. So a lot of our projects, and actually I would say a good majority of the Toll Brothers employees that live in a Toll Brothers home live in Stonebrook. That's the place we can all afford. So we all love walking through this area. In fact, we're looking at doing our company picnic at Lazy 5. So this is a very important thing for us to make sure that our communities are looking nice, and we're partnering with our public agencies and making sure that they're getting something out of the deal as well.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Seeing no additional questions, is there any public comment on this agenda item?
No, there's not.
Okay, Mr. Borchardt, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you all, commissioners. I very much appreciate your time today, and thank you for providing me preliminary feedback. You'll see me again, hopefully next month once we get this all tied up, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
Before you log off, Jeff, if I can ask our DDA, Lindsay, I had someone raise their hand right as we finish. Can we still allow their comment?
This item is not for possible action, so there's no requirement for public comment. However, if Commissioner Nenzel wants to open it up for additional public comment, he is more than welcome to.
If there's someone that wants to, I guess, give public comment on this item, that's fine with me.
Okay. So this is Michelle Salazar.
I was actually raising my hand for the next agenda item number 8. Sorry about that.
No worries.
No worries.
Thank you.
Okay. So again, moving to item 8, which is the quarterly update of the off-leash dog pilot program, which allows off-leash dogs during certain hours in areas of North Valley's Lazy 5 and South Valley's parks by Celia Walker, Park Ranger 2. And we'll go ahead and do the quarterly update, and then afterwards I will open up for public comment. So Celia, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Celia Walker, Park Ranger out of the Peavine District, based out of Rancho, San Rafael. And I think there's a few new commissioners since our last meeting for this pilot program. So I'll just go over what it is first. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. So we recognized a need in the community. Our dog parks and off-leash areas are getting a lot of use, more than usual. And so we decided to try this program out. It's been tested in a few other cities successfully. And so we based it on their model. We're just trying a 1-year pilot program with 3 of our Washoe County parks on certain fields. Soccer fields during the off season, it was from 8 a.m. until sunset, our park hours, that off-leash dogs were allowed there. November through February. And then the same 3 parks will have the off-leash hours during team use, March through November, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So the commission approved 3 parks, North Valleys Regional Park, Lazy 5, and South Valleys, on one certain athletic field in each park. So this has been going now since November 15th of this year. And so we've had, almost 3 months of this. In my opinion, it's going pretty well. People seem to really like it. Usually, at least once a day, we'll be going by these parks, seeing the numbers of people out there. We decided we were going to, keep track of how many users were on the field during the days, any dog waste left on the field, any animal emergency calls to Washoe County Animal Control, the number of dog bags we were refilling at each field, damage reports filed, and every, comment and suggestion from the public. So here's North Valleys. We have the fully fenced 80 by 80 soccer field. It's a really nice location. It's at the very end of Silver Lake Road. It has its own little parking lot. It's fully fenced. We have 2 trash cans at each entrance and 2 dog waste stations at each entrance also. On average, since, November 15th, it's been a consistent 20 people and their dogs per day. And this has been done by, maintenance staff observing and ranger staff observing. We've only picked up 3 piles of dog waste on the field, and I've been walking it at least once a week just to make sure everything's looking good. And the garbage cans are obviously being used because they're mostly full of just all dog waste, which is great. 0 calls to animal control. Let's see. It's going. So I've replaced 7 boxes of dog waste bags. They each have 50 bags each. So people are, using them, which is great. We've had no damage reports filed. We did a big social media push in November when this was starting. It was on the news. Reno Gazette-Journal did an article on it, and we did a lot of Facebook posts on Washoe County Regional Park site, the North Valleys community sites. So here's just some comments from the public. Most people are very excited about it. There's some thinking outside the box. Thank you for providing an option closer to home. Almost every single interaction that staff have had with people in the park have been positive, and people are thankful that there's a place to take their dogs. The next park that we have is Lazy 5 Regional Park. It is unfenced. It's the lower soccer field, far away from Pyramid, and the playground and pavilion, they're all at a distance. Lazy 5 has been like an average of 16 users per day. That's been the average since November 15th. They've had 0 dog waste picked up on the field. Number of calls to animal services has been 0, which is good. They've only replaced 2 boxes of dog waste bags. I guess most users have brought their own there, so we're not going through a bunch. There's been no damage reports, and I gave the presentation at the Spanish Springs CAB meeting in November for the program. It was very well received. The room was packed with residents, and I only had 2 questions afterwards. Who do they call? If there's an emergency on the field. On our rules sign, we have the animal control dispatch number, 322 dogs to call with any animal emergency. And then also got the question, will the off-leash fields add to park ranger duties, make more work for staff? And we've had the opposite. Normally, if you're telling a person they can't have their dogs off leash in the park, there's a lot of negative interactions that go on with that. It's been really great to give people an option. And, you know, then we don't have as many off-leash dogs throughout the whole park. So the third place is South Valley's Regional Park. It's on the lower soccer field between the library and the playground. It does have the chain link fence on two sides. It's got split rail and a retaining wall on the other sides. Number of users, the South Valley's one, like we thought, is the most popular of these three. The average users per day has been 53. And it's been such a beautiful January. It's really been busy this month. They have had more dog waste left on the field. 25 dog piles have been picked up by staff so far. No calls to Washoe County Animal Services. Staff have refilled 15 boxes of dog bags. No damage reports. The social media, it's wonderful for responsible dog owners and their pups. And people are just really thankful to have an option. A lot of people, if they already play soccer on the field, you know, or ball or whatever they're doing, they can have their dogs off leash. So if they're playing Frisbee with each other or anything, you know, they don't have to hold on to the leash for their dog. A lot of people have been happy about that. There was a report of a dog attack by a German Shepherd on the off-leash field. It was on the Nextdoor website for South Reno, and lots of comments on there, negative regarding the owner of the German Shepherd. But animal control was never contacted and they had no record of that. We have the number there for animal emergencies, you know, like this one, you want to report a dog attack or if there's a bite or anything like that. We have got some emails, especially from down south. They support dogs being allowed Whites Creek and South Valleys Park during certain times. Again, thank you for the creative solution to the off-leash areas. Had a couple not so nice emails, monumentally bad idea, need better behaved dog owners. This one was a little different. Perhaps people who live in apartments or have tiny backyards shouldn't have dogs. They should have snails. So you never know what you're going to get. So on our last pilot program update here in November, we were going to try Whites Creek Park as one of the pilot program parks since it is fully fenced and many people in the neighborhood are already using it as an off-leash area. But at the last commission meeting in November, there was voiced concerns that it would increase traffic in the area. Neighbors didn't want people coming in just to use it as an off-leash field. So it was decided then to take off Whites Creek Park, survey it throughout the year, and then if the pilot program was successful, we could add it to the program in November of next year. I believe Luke, he's the one that voiced adding it to the pilot program. And we've had 2 separate emails in support of Whites Creek Park being an off-leash field. And so we're taking all of those into consideration for next year. So this year we're just seeing how our 3 parks are going to do. throughout the whole year with having the off-leash dogs and with sports starting up. And then if it's successful, we will add it. And just reviewing Whites Creek, like I said, we've had those 2 positive emails in support of the program. I know there's a group of people who regularly use the field for their off-leash dogs every day. It is still, not allowed at the park. It's not part of the program yet, but we do have South Valleys. So you are welcome to go there with your dogs off leash during the hours. I know Washoe County Animal Control started a park patrol of the park to inform people of the rules of the park, tell them they can go to South Valleys or what there's Hidden Valley, Rancho Center Rafael. We do have a lot of other off-leash areas. So a summary for the past 3 months here. Total average users per day from November till now, 89 people plus their dogs. South Valleys has been the busiest. The total dog bag boxes replaced, we've replaced a total of 24 boxes. Dog waste picked up, 28 piles we've found on the fields. No damage reports, no calls to animal services. And comments from the public, personal interactions within the park in person have been 100% positive. Social media and email, 80% positive, 20% negative. We have had a meeting with the sport leagues, and they are all well aware that the off-leash program is going on. Starting March 1st, sport fields will be reserved for leagues. And so our off-leash hours at our 3 parks are going to be 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Yeah, so there we go. So this will really be a test over the summer, how well people are following those rules and picking up. We are going to be organizing a volunteer cleanup of the 3 fields at the end of February. And then we have thrown out the idea of doing a clean field volunteer program to start when the leagues start their soccer practices, just to make sure that we don't have any, negative interactions on the fields, that the fields are clean. So the South Valleys CAB meeting is coming up this Thursday, and myself and Ranger Andy Brown will be at that one. And then North Valley's CAB meeting with the off-leash program as well is going to be February 15th. So there's still some more outreach coming up here. And then we'll do the next quarterly update in May, every 3 months. So any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Ranger Walker. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
I have.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, my question was, is the ultimate goal to expand this to more parks?
Yeah, so the ultimate goal was, if this is successful, to expand to more parks and hopefully have City of Reno and City of Sparks adopt the program for their own parks.
Well, I think it's a spectacular idea, and I see what the concerns are, so I'm all for it if the concerns can be addressed. I love the idea of expanding it because hopefully this does stop people from letting their animals off leash in inappropriate settings.
Yeah, for sure. We have a rule sign at every entrance to our off-leash fields, and nice big red lettering says, this program will go away, if the rules aren't respected and people aren't cleaning up after themselves.
Well, good job so far.
Thank you.
What other questions, commissioners?
I have a brief question, but I wanted to say thank you, Celia, for the presentation. I think it's nice to see both the positive and negative comments. The pilot seems to be going well so far. I know you had mentioned, and I think you shared this at the last presentation, so there is signage at all the parks with the hours, correct?
Yeah, the hours are on there. Park hours during, November to the end of February is 8 a.m. to sunset. Our normal park hours are for off-leash use. And then during March 1st, starting March 1st until October 31st, it'll be 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Perfect. Okay.
Because most leagues have the field reserved starting at 3 p.m. all evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that both hours for, the fall and spring are already included so that, the community members aren't surprised when that time comes. So thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, commissioners? All right, I do have, first I'd like to say thank you for starting the pilot program. I'm absolutely certain that the number of people in this area is growing far faster than the number of dog parks. And as we all know, during the pandemic, animals are being adopted faster than they have been in the last 10 years. So people need places to go with their dog so their dog can get exercise. And, the existing dog parks in Reno, I'm sure, are overcrowded. Anyway, so my question is more kind of specific to South Valleys. It seems like more dog waste piles were picked up there than anywhere else, and also more dog waste bags were refilled. Was there any correlation between refilling the bags and finding dog waste? In other words, possibly were there piles of waste because there were no bags for a period of time?
No, I don't think so. South Valley's field is a little larger. Sometimes it can be hard to remember where your dog went.
Yes.
If you're not nearby it. Yeah. But I know the dog bags were always available there, and people are still expected to carry your own. That's part of the law. If you are walking your dog, you're supposed to carry a bag to clean up after it. We are going to be doing, especially with the sport league starting back up, I'd like to do another outreach on the news, since that got such a big response, just to remind people to clean up after their pet. The hours are changing, and that this is a pilot program that we want to be successful.
Is there a possibility of putting a bag dispenser, say, on the other side of the field, so that perhaps if your dog decides to pick exactly the opposite side of the field from where the bags are, it might be a little bit more convenient?
Yeah, there should be 2 down there. We could always try to do another one. It depends on how many dog bags we get donated here. But we just want to remind people to clean up after their pet. Keep an eye on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions for the Ranger Walker?
Well, I have one other additional comment. I have seen some dog areas where people can take their plastic grocery bags and shove them into a dispenser that then dog users can take the bags out of for cleanup. Right now you're going with donated bags, so I just wanted to throw that one out there.
Yeah, people are welcome to bring their own bags and just, recycle those from groceries. That would be great. The only issue, we've had those in the past at certain off-leash fields, and we get such awful wind here. They just kind of take the bags and make parachutes out of them and litter the park. So we don't have those anymore. You are welcome to carry your own though, but we are discouraging them because they do tend to just litter.
Any other commissioner questions or comments?
I do have a comment from Commissioner Doolittle that I need to read for the record. He just submitted, it said, on the off-leash proposal, I would support staff with the caveat that a full report be brought back to the commission on the trial outcomes at each location prior to the adoption of a permanent solution. So that is what we're doing quarterly with these updates, but we're just reiterating that.
Very good.
Yeah, we'll continue to give updates every 3 months. And we're curious how things are going to go when the sport leagues start back up next month. So it'll be interesting to keep it going. And in November, we'll, take stock of the whole year and then bring that back so everyone can see.
Great.
Yeah.
Denise, I imagine we have public comment.
Yes, we do have 2 hands raised. So we will start with Michelle Salazar, and just a reminder, you have 3 minutes, so I'll be putting up the timer.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Michelle Salazar, and I am one of the 10 people who were cited in the quarterly review of the people who use the White Creek Park on a daily basis. I reviewed the meeting minutes to the November 2nd board meeting, wherein there were 3 residents of the Galena Country Estates who objected to the pilot program being held at Whites Creek Park. Jaime Aranda was the vice president of Galena Country Estates. He wanted to exclude Whites Creek due to its size and traffic in the neighborhood. John Grecu, also part of the Galena Country Estates HOA, did not want the pilot program at Whites Creek due to its small size, increased traffic in the neighborhood, and safety of the residents. And Vicky La Rovere is a resident of Galena Country Estates, and she said she thinks it would go both ways. Or she said that she would have an issue with having to clean up after irresponsible people. Colleen, in response to the 3 comments from the residents, Colleen Wallace Barnum, who is the superintendent, suggested that the rangers and the maintenance staff gather input on the off-leash issues at White Creek to present to the Park Commission at a later date. My question was, what later date? And based upon the presentation today, it sounds like the later date is 1 year from when the pilot program was started, which is November of 2022. Based upon the number of average users at South Valleys, which is 53 users a day, it seems like it would be prudent to consider Whites Creek as an off-leash park before November of 2022. And based upon the current use, which we have a history of about a 1-year time period of off-leash dog use, I think it would be prudent for the park rangers and the staff to interview the current pet owners who are using the space, along with the soccer families and other users of that space, because we've really created a cooperative environment where we're respectful of one another, where we bring our own dog waste bags, so we have really no need for having bags present, where we hold one another accountable to make sure that dog waste is picked up, and even picking up after other people who leave dog waste. I think that the opinion of 3 residents, because they don't want others in their neighborhood, is not really relevant. I think that the park is there, it's a public use park, and we should all be given equal opportunity to utilize the space. So please reach out to the dog owners, please reach out to the other users, and really try to implement this before November of 2022.
Thank you very much for those comments, Ms. Salazar. I certainly understand your concerns. As a dog owner, I always look for places that I can go with my dog and have my dog off leash. I will remind those that are interested, and there are There are 2 CAB meetings coming up. There is one in South Valleys on the 3rd, which if those that are wanting the Whites Creek Park reconsidered, they might consider attending.
Yeah, I'll just say, Whites Creek was on the list for the pilot program to begin with. Based on what we heard in November from the residents down there, it was agreed to gain information on what, public input would be and who would be using the field, what the impact would be over the next, throughout the year. It's always a possibility that it could come back, but we need to hear from the public. I would encourage the CAB meetings and our emails. You are welcome to submit any comments. My email is cwalker@washoucounty.gov, and we are collecting all of those and presenting Whites Creek at each of these quarterly meetings as well.
Thank you again, Ranger Walker. Is there additional public comment, Denise?
Yes, we have James Brassfield. I'm sorry if I didn't say that correctly. Let's see.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, and you did pronounce it correctly. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you for putting this program together. It's been excellent, and by all indications, it's been very successful also. I want to sort of just add to what Michelle said. First of all, Whites Creek is being fully fenced is a huge plus. I mean, it's much easier to control the dogs, and I think any of us that have been there with our dogs have been very satisfied with that location. The other thing is, I think the comments that came out in the November meeting from the residents were a little bit insincere because, first of all, I've never seen the parking lot full of dog owners. I've seen the parking lot full from soccer players, but never dog owners, not even close to being full. And I think you're prejudicing dog owners by claiming that traffic through the neighborhood is going to be a safety problem. Well, any activity at that park is going to create traffic problems. So you could make the same claim to people that are playing soccer there or people that are playing lacrosse. So anyhow, those are my 2 cents. I think the people that I've been associated with in dog park have been very responsible. I mean, everybody picks up after their dog. In fact, we even go around sometimes and pick up poop that doesn't belong to our dogs. And so it's, you've got responsible people out there. And I think it would be a really good idea to reconsider Whites Creek as another test site. So thank you for the comments.
Thank you, Mr. Brassfield. Again, I'll just mention the CAB meeting that's coming up in South Valleys on the 3rd as well. Denise, is there further public comment?
Yes, we have Luke Stevenson. Should be able to talk. We just unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just want to reiterate the importance of being able to have a place where our dogs can safely run off leash. The South Park near the library is a nice open space, but again, it doesn't provide a safe place for our dogs to roam freely because of the proximity of the busy street of Wedge Parkway. That's dangerous not only for the dogs, but for the motorists as well. The reason Whites works so well is not only because it's fenced, but also because it's not near a busy street. That's a double positive for that location. And that is probably the largest reason why dog owners tend to congregate there. So we would very much appreciate reconsideration before November so we have a place to safely have our dogs off leash exercise and socialize. Thank you.
Thank you again thank you for your comments as well, Mr. Stevenson.
It appears that's it for public comment.
Okay, as this is not an action item, again, thanks to the public for their comments. Thank you, Ranger Walker, for the presentation. We look forward to seeing you back in May and keeping fingers crossed that it just continues to get better and better.
That's what we're hoping too. So yes, I'll see you back in May. Fingers crossed. Thank you.
This will move us from agenda item 8 to agenda item 9, update on Washoe County fiscal year 2022 to 2023 budget, including but not limited to budget priorities priorities for the Community Service Department and capital projects related to Washoe County Parks and Open Spaces. And I will hand the floor over to Mr. Crump, I believe.
Yes, thank you. For the record, and good afternoon. For the record, Eric Crump with Washoe County's Community Services Department. I've put a small presentation together. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see if this works here. Can you all see that?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It says you've started screen sharing. There's just maybe a lag.
Let's see here. I'm going to stop and try again. How about now?
Yes, perfect.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So as many of you might know, we are currently approaching our budget cycle. So the county's fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. So right now we are planning for what's referred to as fiscal year 23. So I wanted to provide an update. This is kind of an overview of our schedule. So we just submitted our above base requests. So those are expenses in excess of what our current funding levels are. We just submitted those last Friday. And we'll be presenting to budget, and then budget will be analyzing and reviewing those recommendations throughout March and April. And then the county manager will make final budget recommendations to our board in May with an adoption sometime in June, and our budget is due to the state by June 1st. So I'll take this in two pieces. First, I'll talk about our capital improvement projects that were submitted. And these are specific to Fund 402 or General Fund. And we have quite a few projects that we submitted for General Fund support. So these are actually in order of prioritization as to how we submitted them. The first one was the master plan build out for South Valley's Regional Park. This would include, there was a master plan that was done a few years ago, so it's a relatively new master plan, and in that master plan it identified additional flat fields, some baseball fields, some additional parking, restrooms, a dog park, and all of the kind of landscaping and irrigation improvements to support all of those. The request is for roughly $3 million. That is only partial funding for that build out. I believe the estimate is roughly $5.7 million for build out, but we have other folks who are interested in participating in that. Some of the leagues that use that, we've got some foundations. We also have potentially some residential construction tax that can be used. The second priority for us was the Emilio Gaspari Water Play Park. It's some safety improvements. So that water play park is our oldest water park within our park system, and it's in need of some safety improvements to primarily the mechanical system and the structure that houses the mechanical system. It's pretty old technology. There's a lot of hand feeding of chemicals by staff, and we'd like to upgrade much of that to newer technology, make it more efficient and certainly much safer. The next one is the playground replacement, Virginia Foothills Park. There are two elements to that playground. I believe one is 26 years old and one is approaching around 16 years old. So this would be replacement of the entire playground there at Virginia Foothills Park, including surfacing. And then we have number 4 priority would be Golden Valley Regional Park replacement. That playground, I believe, is original to the park and over 30 years old. Number 5 on the list, we have Ranch House at Rancho San Rafael Regional Park. This is a very popular facility for rentals, and it's a fairly old house. It does have some settling going on that's affecting that building. We had an engineer evaluate it and provide some recommendations, and so this would implement those recommendations made by that engineer to the foundation of the ranch house. Lemon Valley Park improvements. This is Lemon Valley Park is a fairly old park. This would basically improve all of the baseball fields, the drainage around the baseball fields, the restroom, the dugouts, all of that area. It's all original construction. In fact, the restroom is in such poor condition, it is currently not open and can't until we can do this improvement. Number 7 on the list is the design for in the Arboretum for a cactus and succulent garden. We actually have a donor who is interested in funding the construction of this, of the garden. So our request is to fund the actual design. We've done some conceptual designs already, so there has been some work, but this would be final design and construction drawings. And then lastly would be adding security cameras to many of our regional parks and trailheads in hopes that we would focus on some of our areas that we receive some relatively high amounts of vandalism and hopefully deter that vandalism and help when there is actually vandalism. So before I move over into our standard budget, are there any questions on capital improvement projects?
Commissioners? Seeing none.
All right. I'll move on to what we consider our above base requests. So the way the county's budget system works is every year departments pretty much get what they had in previous years and then they open it up for requests for additional funding. So we actually submitted quite a few requests for above base. And these are in order of priority by the department. So the first one, as you might imagine, the main museum has had considerable revenue loss due to COVID. We have not been able to have a significant show at the museum in the last 2 years. So we are looking for, and so we're depleting our cash reserves in the main museum. And we're looking for funding to kind of boost up those reserves. That funding is $125,000. And there may be some funding available through some federal COVID recovery costs as well. So we're investigating that. The next is just an overall increase. I believe it's a 4.5 or 4.6, and it's indexed. And we're looking for an overall increase in services and supplies. As many of you know, inflation has reared its ugly head, and we are not immune to it either. So we get far less for the same amount of money. So we're just trying to make our budgets whole. and give us the same buying power as we've had in the past based on inflation. We're requesting 2.75 FTE. So FTE stands for full-time equivalents. So this would be 2 full-time maintenance workers and a 3/4-time maintenance worker. These maintenance workers would be primarily in the north. That's where we're experiencing the largest amount of growth and demand for our services. We're also requesting 2 additional trucks to serve those positions. Reclassification of our 2 park rangers, Park Ranger 1s to Park Rangers. So currently we have 2 classifications of Park Rangers. We have Park Ranger 1s and Park Ranger 2s. This was actually done during the Great Recession as a cost savings measure and bringing some existing staff over. There is not a huge difference between the Park Ranger 1 and the Park Ranger 2. So this is just kind of cleanup for something that was the right thing to do at the time, but certainly not the right thing to do now. The next on the list would be hiring 3 temporary recreation specialists. These recreation specialists are critical for some of our seasonal programs. The 3 here would be for our Bowers Mansion, would be for our aquatics program, and then also for the Robert Z. Hawkins Amphitheater. We have been hiring temporary recreation specialists through salary savings in other areas over the last few years. So this is, we wanted to try hiring temporary recreation specialists to see if it was the right approach. It has proven to be the right approach. It's certainly sustainable. And so now this is kind of finalizing how we've been doing things over the last few years and not utilizing salary savings from another position. The next one would be, currently we have 1 full-time range master, and then we have 1 part-time range safety officer. As you can imagine, our regional shooting facility continues to be very, very busy. And we'd like to increase that part-time range safety officer to a full-time range safety officer. We've had some challenges in keeping that position filled and appropriately covering the range, and increasing this from part-time to full-time will allow us to do a better job at that. But the next on the list would be increasing one of our other park ranger ones, which is a 0.9 FTE. So this one's actually a 10-month position to a full-time park ranger. Next would be a utility vehicle for our North region, and this would help serve that 2.75 FTE maintenance workers that we've been requesting. The next on the list is increasing the services and supplies for our Arboretum. So currently, the Arboretum services and supplies budget is relatively small, and we rely on donations to subsidize the services and supplies budget. So this kind of right sizes the budget, and certainly will still encourage and hopefully receive donations, but we can deploy those in other areas and not necessarily for overall general maintenance. The last 3 we have, we're requesting a maintenance worker for the Arboretum. And then the last 2 are contingent upon the number 1 CIP request that I went over earlier, and that's the build out of South Valleys Regional Park. If in fact that CIP project is approved, we would obviously need the staff and the services and supplies budget to maintain those new additions. So this would be an additional 1.75 maintenance worker, so 1 full-time and a 3/4 maintenance worker, and then services and supplies budget to be able to properly maintain the build out. Our total CSD, so not what I went over, but everything that the CSD submitted for above base is roughly 1.8 million. Of that, the requests that I just went over are roughly 1.2 million. So a very large percentage of the total CSD above base requests are parks related. We do have some revenue offset. This helps us when we try to justify some of these above base, if we can identify revenue sources and have revenue offsets, they kind of score higher in the budget world, if you will. So the net request for parks is roughly $1.1 million. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might
have. Thank you, Director Crump. Do the commissioners have any questions? Seeing none, thank you again, Director Crump. It looks like an exciting budget with some things that'll come out of it that'll truly benefit the area.
May I ask a question about the May Museum? What is its typical revenue? And you're saying there's 125,000 shortfall?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the May Museum, it has several revenue streams. One obviously is just daily visitation to what we consider the collection. We also have the kind of the rental. It's a very popular place for weddings and those types of events. And then the third kind of one of our largest revenue streams is we typically bring in big traveling exhibits or shows. And due to COVID, we have not been able to bring in big shows in the last 2 years. There is one going on now. So this is the first time we've been able to do it in a couple of years. And due to that, we've lost out on that fairly large revenue stream. Certainly there hasn't been some of the expenses associated with it, but it's a fairly large revenue stream for us. And so we've eroded cash in that fund. The May Museum is an enterprise fund. It is not in the general fund. And so, we are concerned with the erosion of cash, and there may be an opportunity to put cash back into that fund.
Thank you for that, Director Crump. Are there any other comments or questions from the commissioners?
I do have a couple of more questions, Director Crump, regarding the succulent garden. And if my understanding correctly, the construction costs were going to be donated to this project? Is that right? Did I hear that correctly?
That is correct. So right now we have a potential funder who would like to be anonymous. We're working through a potential formal agreement, but that funder has, and they have supported the Arboretum in the past. They're interested in funding the actual construction, which could be over $1 million for construction of its, I think the succulent, the area for the succulent and cactus garden is a little over 2 acres. And, it could be well over $1 million, but that they've requested that the county kind of pony up, if you will, for the design costs.
And that would be at the Rancho San Rafael location?
That is correct. That would be at the Wilbur D. May Arboretum and Botanical Garden, which is located in Rancho San Rafael Park.
So if I'm also looking at this budget real correctly, it's about $525,000 allocated to the Arboretum, the design, and possibly moving forward, potential new employment. Am I getting the vision and how it can sustain itself and grow with a new attraction in this place? Am I getting that vision? Is that why we're looking at so much above base request as well?
Yes. So the above base for the services and supplies and the above base for the additional maintenance worker are not associated with the cactus and succulent garden. They're primarily associated with levels of service. So, we benchmark ourselves against other park agencies. We also benchmark ourselves against other arboretums, and we are well below the national average. We took some pretty tremendous cuts during the Great Recession, and we're still trying to climb out of that. And so that's what these requests are doing.
Thank you, Director Crum. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments or questions? Seeing none, Denise, is there any public comment on item number 9?
No, I'm not seeing any public comment.
All right, thank you again, Director Crump.
Thank you.
Commissioners will move on to agenda item 10, Parks reports.
Hi, everybody. For the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. I will try to make these brief. I just wanted to let everybody know while we were on the topic of the May Museum and exhibits, we do have an exhibit for 2022, which is really exciting. We were happy to bring back a big exhibit to the museum based on 2 years of really, in 2020, we had to really shut down the exhibit. So we were super excited to bring this one. It's called Sweet. It's kind of a lighthearted exhibit about candy and confections. It's super fun. I've been through it with the curator and assistant curator, and I will have a pass for all of you commissioners that I will mail to your houses. So hopefully you'll get a chance to come and take a look and maybe bring some family members with you and enjoy the exhibit. So wanted to let you know that that was going on. There will be an adult night. Our assistant curator, Samantha, usually puts on an adult night, and the adult night is going to be on, I believe, Valentine's weekend. So it should be coming up here in the next week or two. Let's see. And then park programs, just wanted to let everybody know we didn't really get to do a park program update, or excuse me, a park district report update in December or in January because our meeting was pretty long. But wanted to let everybody know that we had our Ktmb Christmas tree recycling, very successful. We do both Rancho San Rafael Park and Bartley Ranch Park or drop-off sites. I think the whole program accepted over 10,000 trees from the community. Those are mulched and used throughout the community in parks, and then the public can actually pick up mulch as well. We currently have the Come In From the Cold program going on at Bartley Ranch Park on Saturday evenings beginning at 7 p.m. Attendance has been lower than typical years, but I think with Omicron variant, increases, I think there were just some hesitation and people weren't coming out. But we're hoping to see better numbers as our COVID cases go down. And then wanted to also make sure probably everybody was watching. There was some information in the news. Our parks were used as locations for testing sites, for COVID testing sites. We had no relationship other than the fact that they were happening in our parks. But we did see a lot of traffic related issues and just really much higher numbers of people needing testing than I think was anticipated. But that has since slowed down significantly in the last week or two. And I think that's about it. I just wanted to make sure, I guess we're going to be doing some ranger walks starting in February, beginning at North Valleys Regional Park on February 13th. So keep your eye out. Maybe usually we post a lot of our information of upcoming programs on our Facebook page. If you're not already, if you haven't liked that page, it's Washoe County Regional Parks and Open Space for our new commissioners. So with that, I'll leave it. Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioners, questions? Seeing none, is there?
No, I have one. I'm sorry.
Please. I
belong to Next Door, and I've seen an awful lot of posts about the used needles in the downtown area parks. And I'm just wondering, are we doing anything to address this?
For the record, Colleen Wallace-Barnum, Park Operations Superintendent. I'm not sure which downtown parks, but we do have some parks along the river. And there is a program with Northern Nevada Hopes. I believe that they have receptacles for used needles in some of those downtown parks, but I would have to confirm with the city of Reno. We do not have any of those receptacles in Washoe County parks.
Okay. Well, yeah, I've been seeing a lot of comments about it, so I'm just wondering what, if anything, we can do. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions, commissioners? Is there a May Center volunteer service report, park planning report, or golf park to move on to? I guess not. Is there a public comment on agenda item 10, the parks reports?
No public comment.
Thank you. The commission will now move on to item 11, the director's report. Is County Manager Solaro online?
Good afternoon. For the record, Assistant County Manager Dave Solaro. I think one of the things that we might have had a miss on this agenda, my fault, I apologize for that, but one of the most important things that the Board of County Commissioners did in the last month, January, was appoint 3 new park commissioners. So I would like to formally welcome our 3 new park commissioners. We have, unfortunately, Commissioner Maxwell DiNatale could not make it today, but we do have Nicholas Martin Kearney with us here today. As well as Lisa Rhodes. So welcome to the Open Space and Open Space Commission. Sorry, Parks and Open Space Commission. I will get this right eventually. Welcome in. Pretty good discussion today on a lot of exciting things happening within our parks. I think this is one of the things that you will recognize, that the Washoe County park system is a really special place within our community. While we do have interface with City of Reno and City Sparks as well, we do have the majority of the regional parks, which are very well loved by our community, and that love is why we also have that large ask for capital improvements as well as general fund above base, because as we see people loving our parks, we also need to make sure we continue to maintain those to a standard that they continue to work through. So welcome to the Open Space and Regional Park and Open Space Commission, and hope to see you for years to come being active members of this commission. Additionally, the Board of County Commissioners heard the item related to the Sugarloaf open space with the Tumwa easement. You'll recall that item, so the board heard that. And then they also awarded the bid for the Bowers Pool replastering project, as well as the splash park for the children out there in lieu of the wading pool that we've been having some issues with. So those are some of the notable things that occurred at the board meeting in the last month. And with that, I'll go ahead and open it up to any questions that any of the commissioners may have for me specifically.
What questions do we have, commissioners? Well, Mr. Solaro, I think you're off the hook this month.
All right. Well, actually, Vice Chair, one other thing just popped into my mind. I'd totally forgotten. You'd mentioned the golf report. One item of note for golf as we continue down the path with the Wild Creek Golf Course. I do, for Commissioner Lee, I do have an appointment tomorrow morning with the consultant that is doing a boundary line adjustment for us. And so I'll be signing the document for the southern boundary of the Wild Creek High School or the Hug High School parcel to add approximately 4 acres to that park property prior to transfer to the First Tee of Northern Nevada. So that is still ongoing. We are continuing down that path, trying to shore that up. We're also working with the Bureau of Land Management on an addition of almost 40 acres on the north end of that property. So that continues to work through the path that you all have seen, as well as the Board of County Commissioners have directed us to go. So that is my last little update. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Solaro, I just have a question regarding the Wild Creek progress. Is there any kind of maybe already online map, or is the proposed new design see what these changes that we might be able to see?
I will have to double check. I believe First Tee of Northern Nevada does have this up on their website, but I will double check with that, and I will send a link to all of the commissioners so you can take a look at that.
Oh, great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Solero? Denise, any public comment on item 11?
No public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again, Mr. Solero. The commission will now move on to item 12, which is commissioner's request for future agenda items and closing comments. Are there any requests for future agenda items from the commissioners? Any closing comments? I will add the closing comment that it's great to see the commission growing. I'm happy to see the new members, and I hope you'll excuse the way I've conducted my very first commission meeting. And that will move the commission. Is there any final public comment, Denise, for item 13?
No, there are no hands raised, no public comment. Thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to say you did great, Commissioner Nenzel.
Well, thank you very much. I will take that to heart and hope to never have to do this again.
Great job.
Thank you. And that takes us to the item we've all been waiting for, which is item 14, which is adjournment. I hope that you all have a good afternoon, and we'll see you in a month. Goodbye.